Right, hello and welcome back. Let's see what we've got going on this week. It's quite fresh out, but it's a nice day, so hopefully the weather holds out for a bit longer. So let's take a walk through and see what we're on with now. Come and collect your chair. I'm getting fed up of walking past this every morning. Right, so first things first, we're on with these two parts of this sofa with the seat damage. As we said in the last video, we're going to be removing the outside back from these to patch the damage to the seat. That's what the customer's requesting, what we're going to do for them. We have a recliner chair that's been done in the blue fabric on it. This nursing chair, the customer's been in and chosen a fabric to do that in. Unfortunately, nothing too exciting. It's just in a pink velvet with a watermark through it. Yeah, so it'd be quite nice. We've got the restaurant chairs which need the repairs doing to them to get on with. And here's the second part of this seating. It's already on the bench and I've started stripping it out. So we've got to undo all this round the bottom here to be able to remove this cover to then unpick the damaged part and replace it. So it's going to be quite time consuming that. For something people think, can't you just do that? Well, yes, we can just replace the damaged lever, but it's getting to that damaged lever to replace it. You know, this is all stitched up and pulled on in one, so it's not that a simple job to do, and even more so when we get to the other piece that is a recliner. So we've got to take the action out, etc. on that. So yes, I'm going to unpick this and we'll come back to you when we've got the cover off of the frame, so to speak, so you can see what it is that we've got to deal with. And then we've got to cut this outside back. So I'm going to cut the outside back along here, staple this edge over, and then it should give me a nice big piece of leather to use. It means the outside back is going to be open to some extent on the chair, but on the sofa, but this does go up against the wall, so the customer's not unduly worried about that. So I'll get this unpicked and we'll come back to you when we're ready to show you the next part. Okay. Right, so it's unpicked now, and this is what comes off in one big go. So this is all stitched together. It's got a board in here that needs to be removed. I need to break the seams, replace these two damaged panels here, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of work still to go with unpicking it to get to that. So not as simple as you may think, damaged seat. Honestly, sometimes people think that you can do this from the top without removing anything in their properties. Hopefully these videos that I do for you explain things a little bit better for the general public, so when you go in or need a repair, you have a better idea of what's involved to do the repair, certainly properly anyway. So that's the cover off there. That's what we've got left, the sprung unit. Incidentally, whilst we've got you here, if the springs go in your units, a lot of people think that you can replace the spring from the underside of the sofa because they can see them. They believe that they can be replaced from the underside. But the springs are actually attached on the top of this rail, as you can see here. If they were attached on the underside, then you'd push them off or push the clips off, so they're attached to the top. Some cases you can replace the springs, potentially with this style of clip here, but the manufacturers used the inserts to wedge these springs in, if the company has been lazy and not put these inserts in, which wedge the springs in, you could theoretically replace it from the bottom, but you're never going to know that till you take the bottom cloth off and inspect it properly. So we always presume the springs are going to need replacing from the top. So you'd have to take all that off to get to the spring to replace it. Again, not something we would recommend doing in the property. We do have some magic clips to allow us to attach a spring from the underside of the sofa. They're not something I like to use, and to be honest, I don't think I'm ever going to use them again, because quite frankly, they're only as strong as the piece of wood that they're screwing into. And as you can see here, we've got just plywood and then a 3/4 of an inch square batten on it for the seat rails. The back rail's a bit wider, so it's 2 inches by 3/4 of an inch. So trying to put a screw into that that's long enough that it's not going to get ripped out by up and down on the spring is very risky. Certainly with the front rails on most sofas, the front rail isn't as thick as this. Your screw would be poking through the front of the sofa, and you certainly don't want that. So the spring clips that are available to attach them from the bottom, let's see if I've got one easily to hand. I think they're in here. Excuse me, turn my back to you. What we got, there we go. You can find these on various websites. I'll explain to you how they work. So you have your seat rail. Your seat rail is generally about this thick. You're supposed to attach this from the underside of the frame. Imagine your spring clip would normally sit on top of a seat rail, similar to that. These clips get screwed to this side of the seat rail. So in this case, we'd only be able to get one screw in there. Then your spring goes through, and this is meant to locate and lock the spring in so it doesn't come out. So in this particular case, we'd only be getting one screw very close to this top edge here. Unless you pilot that, that's going to split out. Even if you have a thicker rail like that, which is very uncommon in furniture, you can get the 2 screws in, but the seat rail is only about 3/4 of an inch thick, so the screws aren't particularly long. So imagine this pulling up and down. Eventually it can pull these screws out of the timber, again, because you've got them close to this edge. So they do work. How long they're going to work for is your guess, is as good as mine, but they're not something I'm going to continue using them. I did use them once or twice just to see what they were like, and I've not been completely satisfied personally with them. So that gives you an explanation. That's for putting springs in from the underside of the sofa. Springs don't go in from the underside of the sofa, they go on top of the sofa. So anyway, these you can buy. They're relatively cheap to buy. I think the claims are over exaggerated to how good they are. From a professional point of view, they're not something that I would recommend or will be using in the future. Right, so anyway, I digress. Put that away. So that's the carcass. So I've now got to unpick that, but I think first off I'm going to remove the leather from the outside back. So let's get that on the bench, and I'll explain to you a bit in more detail what I'm going to do there. Let's drop that over there out of the way. So this is the outside back. It's off a recliner sofa. this flap is made because it's the same panels used for the reclining ends, albeit this is the middle section. So this lever we're going to salvage, hopefully, to replace the damaged panels here. I think we're going to have issues right from the get-go because I don't believe this panel is wide enough to replace this seat wide panel. Yeah, no, it's not. So we're only going to be able to replace the edge panel on there. I wanted to replace the center panel as well. We're only going to be able to replace the edge panel. It's difficult when you're doing things like this because the customer's not here. That you can't tell exactly how things are going to develop until you actually get stuck into it. So a lot of the times you are using your best judgment. So I'm going to unpick this up to about this edge where it rolls over. I'm then going to cut it. So I'm going to staple this edge down on the timber here, this edge onto this edge of the timber, and then that gives me that back panel to work with there. So I'll get on with that and I'll come back to you to show you what it looks like once we've removed this. Bear in mind it's going to be open the outside back. I'll possibly put a bit of black cloth over it just to close that back in, but it's going up against the wall so it's never going to be seen. So I'll get on with that and come back to you when we've done that bit. So as you can see, we found my pet hate in these cushions. Mattress pocket springs. Well, there you go. They pop up everywhere. But yes, this particular cushion, as all the sofas, got these mattress springs in it and very little foam. So we've got the cover off now. Here it is. You can see the damage. Now, we don't have a piece of leather from the back that's wide enough to go from here to here. So that piece, fortunately, isn't damaged, so that can stay put. We've got to unpick it all. This piece is going to be unpicked here. So we've got to unpick that, which involves breaking this seam here, breaking this seam here, taking this piece out and sewing it back in. We're not going to be doing this stitching style here, quite simply because I won't be able to match the cotton that they've used here, and the customer's fine. They just want their sofa usable more than anything else. So we'll be able to cut that out and hopefully get this portion done today before we start the other segment over here. So bit by bit we'll get there. So we need to get that unpicked and that one done, and the pocket springs back in it, albeit I don't like using these pocket springs for reasons I've stated in other videos. They're originally designed, as far as I was concerned, for mattresses, not to be sat on. So there you go. Oh, hello to Taka. He's sulking because he's not in the van, but he sat next to the next portion of this chair that I need to get on with. So I'll get on with that, put the kettle on and get this seat done and hopefully get it back together ASAP, and you can have a look at the finished project yourself with me. I've put some black cloth on the outside back where I've had to cut it and staple it off. Like I say, this is going up against the wall, so it's not going to be seen. So let's get on with this and we'll be back soon. So there you have it. New patch of old leather in there. I think it's come out quite well. I think the customer's going to be happy with that. I would have liked to have been able to change this panel as well, but we don't have a piece of leather wide enough. Now the other section of this sofa, I may have to rethink how I'm going to do it, because I think this section on the other sofa definitely needs replacing. Let's have a look. I'm not sure if that's just dirt or what's going on there, but I think that needs replacing that side. So I'll try giving it a clean and see what this is underneath here. That might be just purely dirt, but we'll see. I may have to replace this whether I want to or not, and that's going to be a bit tricky. It may mean that the customer's got to live with another adjoining that seat, but we'll see. That's the worst one of the two. So this one we just need to get it back onto the frame and back together. So let's do that now. Okay, so this should be fairly straightforward now to put this back together. I just need to zip the bottom up. So let's spin you around, show you what I mean. Where these pocket springs are in, they're in a section here. So let's get this zipped up and then we can get this back onto its frame and call that this job done. So I would have liked to get onto the other one today, but we've had a few people in with questions and inquiries via email. So another part of running your own business is you're not always on the bench producing, but it's nice to meet people. So if you're ever this way, pop in and see us at Hammond's Upholstery. There's a kettle of beer on. You can come and have a chat and see what's going on. Say hello to the dog if he's come out of the van. There you go. But do let us know you come here first, because I'd hate for you to have a wasted trip. Right. Oh, got a dodgy zip here. Just need to get it on. There you go. Again, the zip they've used, they just use a lightweight zip, sort of zip we would use on scatter cushions, not on seat cushions. So let's spin you around so you can see what's going on. Get this back on without damaging it. So nice and gently. Let's not try and force anything that's gone on. Relatively well. Okay. Okay. So let's flip it over now and start stapling the bottom off. Start off by trying to get it, just put a couple of staples in it, get it positioned in the right place. It does have a bottom cloth over this, so we will have to replace that. We didn't reuse it. I've got the marks on the timber here for the bracketry, so I should be able to get the brackets back in exactly the same place that they come off of. Certainly don't want to go back to the customer and them saying we can't get our sofas joined together again now, because that'll involve a trip out to see them, just to move the brackets. One of the comments that recently had to one of my videos was regarding ripping up the furniture and the dust that comes out of it. Some more so than others, bits of furniture. If it's an antique, a lot of the horsehair and the materials that are in it can literally turn to dust, and the foam can do the same as well when it gets old. Certainly the older types of foams deteriorate and become a dust. So yes, I would wear a mask at that point. It's just that you've not seen me wear a mask in the videos because we've not had anything quite that bad, except for the one time when I was removing the staples with the grinder. You'll have seen then that I had a mask on. So yeah, thanks for the question. We'll try to answer everybody that gets in with a question. We appreciate you watching. So there you go. Right, that's almost that staple back on. We've got to screw this leg lift portion, albeit it doesn't have a recliner action in it. It still has the leg lift portion attached to this particular frame to keep it looking the same as the others. So there we go. We'll use some screws of the correct length. Get this screw back on. That side doesn't need many because it's not coming off. It's got one up here as well. We'll put one in the other side just to keep it even, uniform. Because we can. So the other part of the sofa is pretty much the same as this. Once we get the action out of it, that's what makes the other part a little bit more complicated to work with. Got a little bit of cotton there, so we'll just get a lighter to it, just burn that off. Right, so just put a bottom on this and then this portion is done. I'll just flip it over so you can see now before I put the bottom on it. So there you go, all done. Last them a bit longer now, but we do need to do the other side. So I'll crack on with the other side, and I'll just update you on what I decide or how we resolve the issue with the other panel needing replacing on the other side. We don't need to show you the whole process again. So we'll come back to you with an update on that. Right, I've just been cleaning this lever just before I put this one down, put a bottom on it, and it's become very apparent that why the other one was feeling so sticky is that the lever's been refinished at some point. And this is one of these things that I get asked a lot about, refinishing the lever, and what I say to people, it's not something I do, not necessarily because I wouldn't recommend having it done, it's just that the technician that's doing it has to be very good at their job, and I have enough to do without getting involved in that as well, because one of the main points with refinishing leather is the preparation and getting the grease out of the hide, because if you don't do that properly, the spray is not going to adhere to the surface of the leather. It's my understanding, it's done in a very similar manner to bodywork, and if you have mucky fingerprints or anything like that underneath your paint on bodywork, it's not going to last very long. And I just wanted to spin the camera around and show you a point that probably makes this very clear, because it's obvious this has been refinished or sprayed at some point after the manufacture, and the stickiness that I can feel on it is the spray finish that somebody has put on over the standard finish, which you can see underneath, is what's peeling off now and making it very sticky. So I'll just spin you around and show. I hope that comes up in the picture here. This matte finish underneath is the original colour, where it's been buffed to try and spray it, and what we've got here is the spray finish peeling off, where whoever refinished this, which is more evident on the other piece, it's coming away and creating this flaking effect to it. It's not happening anywhere else. I'll show you on the other sofa, so that explains what this is here, is where they've tried to repair a hole in the leather, and again this stickiness is where they've sprayed finished it, and it's not come out particularly well. So I can't say that for certain, but I think that's what's going on there with these two pieces. So my advice regarding that sort of thing is, it's only as good as the technician that's doing it, the spray finishing. So do a bit of research, do a bit of homework, and make sure you got somebody that really does know what they're doing to redo the finish, because I have seen it done previously, and it's been done to a very high standard, and yes, it will last as long as a normal finish on the leather would do, but it just goes to show that it does need to be done correctly, and like everything, you're probably going to be paying good money for it, so you probably get it cheaper somewhere else, but it doesn't pay, because in a year's time you might be getting a sticky sofa. Anyway, so I need to get on with doing the other sofa. Okay, so that's the leather sofa repair done. The other seat, we had to replace the centre panel as well, but I did manage to do it, and that's now gone back to the customer. Basically the same as the other one, so I don't really need to show you that. Unfortunately, I can't show you that because I didn't video it, so my apologies about that. But you did get to see the first one that was done, and an explanation of what we need to do with the second one and the reasons why, because of the relatively poor leather repair. We would always recommend replacing the damaged panel personally, but there you go. Possibly because I don't do the leather patching, because I don't think it's particularly durable, unless, like I say, it's done by a very professional, capable person that's going to spend the time doing it. And at that point, you might as well look at having the leather panel replaced. So I need to get on with the next job. I'm just on the way out the door to pick up a leather corner sofa that we're redoing in a dove grey, very light colour leather. Not something I would recommend doing, but it's the customer's choice. We're happy to do it. So I need to go out and pick that up. So as always, I hope you enjoy these videos. They're not necessarily meant to be instructional. They just show you what's going on in the workshop. And if you pick up some hints and tips on the way, that's great. We'll keep putting the content out there if you keep liking and subscribing. And please do like and subscribe. I enjoy reading the comments when I get a chance to, and I try to respond to them as quickly as possible. So keep watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.